Hello, everyone, and welcome to our episode on Cloud Launch and Learn today. We are having our guest speaker, Hannes, today, and I hope everyone is excited for our session on Microsoft Sentinel, the modern CM system. And in this presentation and in today's session, we are going to go through the technical overview, not too much slides, according to Hannes, our guest speaker. So we'll have lots of demos and just short introduction into what's the CM and Microsoft Sentinel. Welcome to the studio, Hannes. How are you doing?
Thank you. Fine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you are welcome. So without any overdue, I know that everybody was waiting for this session. Let's jump and dive into this session. And the floor is yours, Hannes.
Thank you. Okay, before we start, I want to give you a short overview about me, a short introduction about me. My name is Hannes Lagler-Grüner. I'm a lead cloud architect in one of the biggest consulting company in Austria named ACP IT Solutions. I'm working with public cloud since the beginning. So I'm working many years for Microsoft Austria, and this is the reason why I came really fast into the situation to learn cloud solutions, to work with cloud solutions, and that's the reason why I have a deep experience in different sections. I also Microsoft Azure MVP since 2.5 years, and this Microsoft Azure MVP also means I have to work with the community. So today is one of my community work, and you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Xing from the Austria of the European perspective, and I have my private blog called cloudblogger.it. And for sure, I have also a YouTube channel. So if you're interested, please subscribe to my channel or connect me over Twitter, Xing, or LinkedIn, whatever you prefer. Okay, so the session from today is about Microsoft Sentinel, and you can see the agenda is really short. So first of all, I want to give you an overview about what is Microsoft Sentinel. Then in the next section, why Microsoft Sentinel, and this is the last section, how to implement, how to use Microsoft Sentinel. And as mentioned before, the session from today is really focusing on the technical aspect and also bring you a really huge overview about a live demo about how can we work with Microsoft Sentinel and what are the benefits from it. Okay, so let's go ahead about the what. What is Microsoft Sentinel? Microsoft Sentinel is a cloud-native CM system. The important part here is cloud-native CM system doesn't mean it's only designed for cloud solutions. It's designed for on-premise, other hyperscaler like AWS, GCP, and for sure from Microsoft Azure solutions. It's based on the platform as a service model, which means it doesn't have to think about, okay, from the scaling perspective, from the sizing perspective, Microsoft will handle the compute resources, will handle the increase and decrease, the scale up and scale down functionality. You consume the application from Microsoft, and you are responsible for the data which is coming into Microsoft Sentinel and also for the use cases which you want to create. It's a hybrid solution, as mentioned before, so it's not only designed for the cloud, it's also designed for other hyperscalers as well from on-premise. And we don't have a limitless cloud speed and scale. So Microsoft, we are in a platform as a service model, and Microsoft is thinking about, okay, capacity planning also for increase and decrease, storage perspective, and so on. Artificial intelligence is also important. So we have many data connected in Microsoft Sentinel, and artificial intelligence, which is automatically coming with Microsoft Sentinel, give you the ability to detect, to get a faster threat detection inside Microsoft Sentinel. So Microsoft have many rules inside Sentinel which give you a better overview and also a faster threat detection. This is really important and really cool feature. We will see it in a few minutes in a live demo. And at the end, it's really cost efficient and secure. So when we work with Azure, you always get really detailed billing overview about what, for example, how many data ingest you have to Microsoft Sentinel, how often do you use SOA playbooks and so on. And this is really cost efficient, and for sure it's also secure inside Microsoft. So Microsoft invests here a huge amount every year for the physical security and also for the virtual security. And all those investments come back to the customers, so you will get a better overview. You also have a secure environment in place. So that's from the what perspective. What is Microsoft Sentinel? So then go to the why. When we think about SIEM implementation, so here are some questions, some discussion points when you came into the situation to implement a new SIEM system. The questions here are not only for the cloud, it's also for on-premise. The first topic is SIEM sizing or system sizing, the right sizing. How do you, when you implement an on-premise system, for example, you have to think about, okay, how many data traffic is planned for the next 2, 3, or 5 years, and depending on the size, on the amount of data, you have to size your system. The next thing is disconnected services. I don't speak here about disconnected services it's really unplugged from the network. I'm talking here about IoT devices outside your company network, devices which are outside your company network, and you have to think about, okay, how can we get the data from these devices? Do we have an API available to the outside of to the internet, and how can we use it? The next thing is about the cloud integration, Azure and more. So when we think about Microsoft 365, for example, you also want in your SIEM system Office 365 data. So a user have created a new mailbox, a user have deleted a mailbox. You also want to implement Azure Active Directory logs or conditional access logs, security logs from the environment. And this is a really, really important topic to implement into your SIEM systems. And I will give you an overview, how can you do this? And to implement Office 365, I only need 6 clicks. I will show you this in my live demo. You only need 6 clicks to implement data or Office 365 data. The monthly costs, how about what are the costs are? So are there licensing costs available? Are there hardware costs available? Are there required upfront investments? So do you need a specified hardware, black box hardware, whatever? And at the end, when we talk about SIEM system, this is one part, but we also want to automate different use cases to, for example, block a user or block a connection, isolate a VM. How can we handle this in our SIEM system? These 5 questions I want to answer with Microsoft Sentinel. The first one is really simple to answer. Don't care, you're using a PaaS environment. So you start small and you can increase it. And Microsoft handle the hardware requirements. Microsoft will handle the upscaling process for you. You only consume the application itself. Disconnected services is also really simple. So Microsoft Sentinel is a platform as a service and is also located in Microsoft Azure and have standardized public endpoints. You can use separate APIs. You can connect with third-party connectors. You can also write your own connectors if you want and connect to the API from Microsoft Sentinel and send the data what you want to Microsoft Sentinel. So it's really, really simple. Cloud integration, Azure and more, it's also really simple to implement Azure data, so Azure Activity Logs or Azure Firewall Logs, for example. It's also really easy to connect Microsoft Defender products and also Office 365. So we will see this in the next demo in a few minutes. Monthly costs, it's also simple to answer with Microsoft Sentinel. So you starting with pay as you go. So at the beginning, you don't know how many data will ingest into Microsoft Sentinel. This is the reason to always start with pay as you go. And over the time, when you know, okay, how many data you will ingest per day, you can go to a reserved instance service and get a discount for your data if it's required. Upfront investment, there's no upfront investment available. So when you want to try Microsoft Sentinel, you can deploy Microsoft Sentinel for the first 31 days for free. You don't need a license, you don't need hardware, you don't need a reservation or what you want. Try it out, and yeah, then you will see it's the best service ever. And from the automation perspective, from the automation perspective, it's also really awesome. So there's no automation limit. You can use Azure Logic Apps to automate really everything. So I have many situations, many use cases from my customers, and I don't have a limit here. So you can automate really everything in Azure Automation. Okay, so let's go ahead to the how. How can we start? Should we start with Microsoft Sentinel? First of all, you should define use cases. Use cases always require data. Depending on your use cases, you have to think about, okay, how can we get the data, from where the data, how many, and how long the data should be implemented to Microsoft Sentinel. So the use case is really the starting point. Then we go ahead and implement a visibility, implement the use cases based on analytics rules, on hunting rules, handle incidents, and at the end, implement automation. So how does it work? Collect data. That's the first process. So first of all, think about the use cases. Think about, okay, where can we get the data? And then we are talking about the collect process, collect data. In this case, we have different connector types available. You can see on the right side, here's Microsoft Sentinel. Microsoft Sentinel is always based on a two-level architecture. The baseline is always Azure Log Analytics. And on top to Azure Log Analytics, we will replace Microsoft Sentinel. So this is a solution on top to Log Analytics. And then we can implement different connector types. One is Azure or Microsoft 365 connector from different ways. Here we have two options, the security alert option or the activity data option. So always keep in mind there are two different ways here. The first one is the activity data, which means I have the source system, for example, Office 365. And in the source system, we have a new data row, like, okay, a user created a new mailbox, and you also transfer this data row to Microsoft Sentinel. So we have the raw data placed in Microsoft Sentinel. The second option what you have when we think about Microsoft Defender products, for example, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, in the source system, we have the data, and the source system generates an alert. And the alert, only the alert, will be transferred to Microsoft Sentinel. So Microsoft Sentinel is working as an umbrella system. So you have many subsystems, and all alerts will be transferred to Microsoft Sentinel. Keep this in mind, because in a few seconds you will know why I explained this so in detail. The collectors, we have here the option to collect Windows events for sure, to collect Linux events for sure. We also have the ability to collect syslog events from firewalls, from switches, or what you prefer. And also the common event format, the Ceph format, is also possible to transfer to Microsoft Sentinel. The transfer process could be different ways. So we have agent-based transfer and so on, but we will see this in a few minutes. Then we also have the ability to use external systems, threat indicators over TAG2 or TAG-C, what you prefer, which name. Also from the MS Graph perspective, Microsoft also brings out in a few weeks ago Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence. So we can also use the Microsoft internal threat intelligence threat indicators for our systems. There are also two different options available, the consumer version and the billable version. At the moment, the billable version is in preview, and you can only use a per user license, but in a few weeks, Microsoft will announce, or will maybe announce in a GA, the API version from Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence, and then you can use it also in Sentinel. And at the end, you have the APIs, and the APIs also means custom logs. So think about you have an application in your environment which is developed from your internal developers, and you also want the data which are stored in a separate space, and you also want this data in Microsoft Sentinel. You have here the ability to create your own data connectors to transfer the data from your environment to the cloud. So about the data, we have here also a benefit when we're using Microsoft Azure. When we think about activity logs, Azure activity logs, Office 365 activity logs, so really the raw data from the source to Microsoft Sentinel, it's for free. So this is really interesting. All Azure subscriptions, all activities from Azure subscriptions, you can transfer to Microsoft Sentinel without any additional costs. Also from Office 365, like Exchange Online logs, SharePoint logs, or Teams logs, you can transfer it to Microsoft Sentinel for free and build up your use cases. The last point here is Microsoft Threat Protection. So all alerts from Microsoft Threat Protection are also for free. I mentioned it before, so when you have Microsoft Defender for endpoint, for example, you have in the source system your alerts, you transfer the alerts to Microsoft Sentinel without additional costs. When we go to the licensing perspective, so you get a benefit when you license in your environment Microsoft 365 E5 and Microsoft 365 E5 security add-on. You will get amount of data for free for each user license which you have. You also have the ability to use Microsoft Defender for Cloud Plan 2 for your servers. When you enable this for your servers, you also get 500 megabyte per month per server license, free ingest data to Microsoft Sentinel. So when we think about cost analysis, we have to think about all your environments, all your licenses in your environment, including your reserved instance option, what you have, and then we get the price at the end. Okay, now we have the data. We have the data inside Microsoft Sentinel, and we go to the step implement visibility. The visibility is really simple, so you can use Azure Workbooks. Azure Workbooks is not a new functionality developed for Microsoft Sentinel. You can find workbooks in Azure Active Directory. You can find workbooks in so many different services in Azure, and this is the reason why you have a huge amount of visibility options. So you can create grids, charts, graphs. You can implement your own text boxes based on Azure Markup language, or you can also implement pictures if you want. Yeah, from the community perspective, there are a really huge amount of different sample workbooks available based on community work, based on from Microsoft, or developed from Microsoft, or developed from third-party vendors. You can also customize all workbooks, so there's no limitation. When you download, for example, a workbook from a third-party vendor or from Microsoft, you always can edit the workbook and use some section from the workbook inside your own workbook. So this is really, really interesting, and also the ability to connect not only Microsoft Log Analytics, so the backend from Microsoft Sentinel, you also can connect different sources. I will show this in the first live demo in a few minutes. Okay, then we go to the analyze phase. So we have our data in place, we have our visibility in place, and now we want to implement alerting, incidents, and so on. So from the analyze perspective, we are using analytics rules. There are also a huge amount of analytics rules available in Microsoft Sentinel based on your data connectors. There's also a new option available to use Azure Content Hub, which brings you not only the data connector and separate rules, it brings you a final solution. Data connectors, analytics rules, visibility, hunting rules, automation rules, and so on. This is really interesting. If you want to create your own use cases, or if you define your own use cases and want to develop your own use cases, you always have to use KQL. KQL is the query language for Azure Log Analytics, and you can use KQL queries to define your analytics rules. From the infrastructure as code perspective, when you want to deploy your rules or your playbooks or whatever over infrastructure as code like CI/CD pipelines, you can do this. And you can also export existing rules into a ARM template and import it into a productive environment if you want. There are different rule types available from analytics rules. The first is the Microsoft security. So if you want to implement a service-to-service connection, so as mentioned before, you have your Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and you only consume the alerts, and you want to connect Microsoft Sentinel to the source system, you're using Microsoft security, so in service-to-service connection, so you don't have to think about KQL queries. You only say, hey, when there is an alert from the severity level high, please open an incident on my side. This is the service to this Microsoft security analytics rule type. The other one is fusion rules. So when you deploy Microsoft Sentinel, you always have one fusion rule in place. It's based on a scalable machine learning scenario, which is configured or which is administered from Microsoft. The other one is a machine learning. It's based also on machine learning rules. The third is anomalies. So when you enable inside Microsoft Sentinel UEBA, and UEBA will create you an user profile based on different data, you also have the ability to use anomaly rules to find out if, okay, is there an anomaly based on the user profile? So does the user, for example, use Azure resources from West Europe and next week from East US 2 and have some anomalies? You will get here an information or an alert. The most common ways to create your own analytics rules is based on scheduled. This is a KQL-based analytic rule. Always keep in mind scheduled rules have one limitation, and the limitation is the scheduler itself. So you can create scheduled rules and say, okay, please execute it every 5 minutes and look back 5 minutes to the first event. Under 5 minutes, it's not possible. So this is the limitation here from scheduled rules. And this is the reason why Microsoft implement NRT rules, near real-time rules, which means you don't have to think about the scheduling itself. Microsoft will say, okay, the rule will be executed past 1 minute. So in the real world, it will take 35 seconds and the rule will be executed. Okay, then we go to the hunting perspective. Hunting means it's the same process. So you are writing hunting rules in KQL. You can also use a huge amount of built-in rules, which is automatically installed in your environment. And when should you use hunting? This is really simple. Before an incident occurs, proactive to analyze your environment, during a compromisation or after a compromisation. The huge difference between analytics rules and hunting rules is analytics rules will generate an incident and also will be automatically scheduled or automatically started. Hunting rules instead are always a manual process. So you're selecting your hunting rules, you execute your hunting rules, and you get the result. One difference here when you're using live streaming rules, so you can convert hunting rules into live streaming rules, and then the rule will be run in the backend and give you an information, okay, when the KQL query have one result. But always keep in mind, hunting rules never, ever create an incident. We will see in a few minutes what the incident means. This is the basic hunting. If you think about advanced hunting, you can also use Notebook based on Jupyter notebooks, but always keep in mind the advanced hunting will also increase your costs because you need additional services, and you also have to think about the costs in this perspective. Okay, 25 minutes. from the slideshow perspective really, really fast. And that's the reason why I want to switch to the first demo. Okay, so let's go to Microsoft Sentinel. I want to give you an overview about Sentinel, where I can find things. Also about the connectors, I will show you in 6 steps you can connect Office 365. I'll also give you an overview about the visibility and analytics and hunting rules. Okay, so switch to the Azure portal. You can see here I have my Azure portal in place. I have to change this here. Go to Microsoft Sentinel. Microsoft Sentinel is a separate service. You can have pin it out, or you can also search it on the bottom, on the top, or here you also have the ability to search for Microsoft Sentinel. And Microsoft Sentinel is always based on log analytics in the backend, and you have to provision a Sentinel service in a specified region. In my case, it is West Europe. So let's go to the Sentinel overview. This is the new experience. I want to switch to the old experience. Microsoft will change everything inside Microsoft Sentinel. It's really, really interesting. So this is the old view, where you can see in the first screen, okay, how many data are available inside my environment from the last 24 hours. I can increase here the time range. On the right side, I can see here incidents, anomalies, and I also have here potential malicious events around the globe. If I want to switch to the new view, in my point of view, it's really a nice new overview. What you can see here is an incident view. You also see here incidents per severity, closed incidents, and also the SOA, the automation perspective. And at the back, you can see also the current status of your analytics rules. Okay, I also mentioned before, the baseline from Microsoft Sentinel is log analytics. So when I go to the backend settings, you have here your settings, and I go to the workspace, I will switch down to the baseline, to the fundamentals from Microsoft Sentinel. This is always Azure Log Analytics. You can see it here when I go to the logs. Here, here's the normal KQL query option what you have for Microsoft Sentinel. For example, when I want to get the data from my Azure Active Directory and logs, select here the table, click on execute, and I have here the ability to see all my SIN logs. I can also filter it down based on a result type or based on user principal, alternative sign-in name. So this is KQL. I can use exactly this KQL query also for my workbooks and also from my analytics rules. Okay, so now we have Microsoft Sentinel in place. Normally it's empty, so we don't have any data inside Microsoft Sentinel. The first thing what we have to do is to connect data. And I want to give you now an overview, 6 steps to connect Microsoft 365 or Office 365. First of all is open Microsoft Sentinel. 1, go to the connectors. 2, search for the connector. Office 365. 3, 4, 5, select your connectors, select your data sources, what you want, Exchange, SharePoint, Online, Teams. I don't have the permission at the moment, but click on apply and that's it. I don't need more actions, more interactions to connect Office 365. And this is not only the first connector, which is really so simple. When we go to the Azure Active Directory, we have the same process. We go to the Azure Active Directory, open the connector page, select here our logging information, click on apply, and we have all data in your environment transferred to your environment from the source to Microsoft Sentinel. Okay, these are raw data connector. You can see it. There are new tables available, or there will be new tables created. When we think about alert connectors, so based on Defender products, we have here the ability to connect Microsoft 365 Defender, And here we have a new option from data type security incidents or security alerts. And these two tables are only from for the alert perspective. It's also for free. Source system generates the alert, transfer the alert or the incident to my Microsoft Sentinel environment, and I have the ability to consume the alert and also create an incident. It's also for free. In this case, we also have the ability to connect the raw data if it's required, and this is the reason why we see other tables as well. But in my environment, I also only have connect the alert table from Microsoft Defender products. And this will include all Microsoft Defender products. You can see here, Defender for Endpoint, Identity, Office 365, and much, much more. Okay, so now we have our data in place. So this is the old version to connect data sources. The new version is, you can see it also on the top here, the Content Hub. Content Hub means you get a solution. You also get your data connector as well, analytics rules, visibility, hunting rules, automation rules, whatever. And this, for example, here the Log4j is a separate solution, and you can see here analytics rules, 4 analytics rules, 10 hunting queries, 2 playbooks, and so on and so on. What you have to do is to install it. So here is the install process, and when it's done, all rules or all contents will be implemented in your Sentinel environment. Okay, this is the new version, and you also have here a huge amount of solutions available, and the number of solutions will increase weekly. Okay, now we have our data, and now we want to implement workbooks or visibility. Let's go to the workbooks. And you have here also templates from different sources, from third-party vendors, from the community itself, or from Microsoft, what you prefer. And to implement workbooks from Microsoft Sentinel, from the Microsoft Sentinel community, for example, it's really simple. You go to the workbook, click on Save, select your location, click on Save, and the workbook is available inside Microsoft Sentinel. And you can see it here under the My Workbook section. These are workbooks which are available in my environment. And when I go to the workspace usage report and click on View Saved Workbook, I have here the ability to edit the workbook. So select here the right workspace. And here we have the ability to edit all workbooks which are implemented in your environment. So there is no hidden functionality inside workbooks. You always can use the source code from Microsoft or whatever. Okay, when you think about your custom workbooks, you can create your custom workbooks. For sure, I have here 2 samples. Here's the first version from my custom workbooks. So you have here different options from the visual perspective. And here is a little bit different here's a difference between other workbooks. We are using here different data sources. We have here our standard data sources from Azure Log Analytics, so from the backend from Microsoft Sentinel. And we're also using here external data sources, consume here the secure score from Microsoft Defender for Cloud directly. So these are informations which are not inside Microsoft Sentinel. So collecting or calling here an API, an external API, and say, hey, give me the secure score for the subscription demo LZ management. And how does this work? It's really simple. So we go here inside our environment, select, for example, this view, and you can see here, I've selected here the data source, not logs. So this is the default setting. This is the backend. In this case, I'm consuming Azure Resource Graph, and this is the query to get the information from the secure score. So this is also possible to consume other data sources. You can also implement your on-premise API if you want and get information from this API. Okay, so this is from the view perspective, from the visual perspective. Let's go ahead and talk about the hunting option, what you have. So as mentioned before, we The difference between analytics rules and hunting rules is hunting rules are always manually rules. So you always select your hunting rules. In this case, I'm selecting this hunting rule and click on Run Selected Query, and I will get the result in a few seconds here. In this case, the result is null. This hunting rules, which you can see here, automatically installed, so I don't create any hunting rules here. So this is also all hunting rules here are automatically implemented. If you want to create a separate hunting rule, your own hunting rule, you have the ability. You have to think about your custom KQL query, define a name, description, and entity mapping, and also your tactics based on the MyTree framework, what you prefer. Okay, so let's switch a hunting rule to a live streaming rule. We can click here on the right side, add to live stream, and what does happen in the backend? You can see here the hunting rule is now running in the backend, and when the hunting rule finds some events inside Log Analytics, you will get here the information, and also here in the notification. Okay, this hunting rule is now find events in your event log. Okay, and at the end, go to the analytics section. So we want to implement analytics rules based on schedule query, based on NLT rules, or based on service-to-service connection. In my environment, I have some analytics rules in place. You can see here 3 different rule types. The Asian Fusion rule is a default rule, which is always available when you create a new Sentinel instance. The only thing what you have to do is connect the data sources here, and at the back, the Microsoft Fusion rule will automatically create an incident if the machine learning scenario in the backend find anything. The other option what we have here is a security-based analytics rule. So we have here now a service-to-service connection. So let's click on Edit, and I will show you what is configured. You can see here the name, the ID, the description. And here we have to define a service-to-service connection, in my case, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. And I can select here my severity settings, low, medium, high. So when in the source system, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, or it's the wrong one, I'm sorry, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, when an error occurs based on the severity low, medium, or high, this analytics rule will also create an incident, and you can work with the incident in the next steps. And the third option what you have is based on scheduled rules. So in this case, we have here more sections. You have here your username, your name, your ID, your description, tactics, and so on. And here we have the rule logic itself. And this is the KQL query. In this KQL query, we consume the sign-in logs table, extract different rows from the table, and select with a where clausel to find users based on a watch list. And the watch list is an external array where you can define your, in this case, Honey accounts. When a user is logged in, so tries to log in, an incident will occur. So this is in the next settings. And what is really, really important is the entity mapping. We will see this in a few seconds when we go to the incidents and when we go to the automation perspective. Okay, here we have the scheduling. So when we go to the schedule option and select here 5, we will get an error because scheduled analytics rules always run, or the minimum is 5 minutes. Okay, so this is really fast. I have to look at the time. I will go now back to the next section, to the incident section. What are incidents? Incidents are based on analytics rules. And incidents are a collection of alerts or events and bookmarks. What does this mean when we think about the Honey account? So a Honey account, we defined a separate Honey account, and this Honey account tries to log in 5 times in the next 5 minutes. You will get 5 errors, and incidents are a collection of all of those 5 errors. You get one incident with 5 alerts inside the incident, and you can work with this incident. You can assign the incident to other users based on Azure Active Directory. You can also change the status from new to active, from active to closed, what you prefer, or what's the status is from the incident. You can assign tags to find the incident on a faster way. And you can also add commands or tasks if you want to communicate with your SOC colleagues, with other colleagues in your company, and also comment, okay, what's the status about the incident? What is the response process, or where's the response process? You can also trigger automation playbooks if you want, from the SOA perspective, manually or automatically at that. When we think about incidents and when we think about entities, which I mentioned before, you can also implement a visualization from the attack based on the entities. And it's really interesting for the SOA colleagues to visualize the attack itself, to also know, okay, this IP address is trying to connect to my Azure portal, and the next time to the Office 365 portal, and so on and so on. And you have here a visualization from all your attacks. We will see this in a few minutes. Okay, and at the end, we always have to think about the automation perspective. Automation is built on playbooks, on scalable playbooks, and playbooks are based on Microsoft Logic apps. And you have a huge amount of different connectors to different sources, to on-premise environment, to other Azure environment, to AWS connections, or what you prefer. It's a huge library, and it's really, really simple to implement. And that's the reason why I want to go to the live demo. And it's now this time to go to the live table. I'm sorry. Automation, incident and automation. We have created analytics rules, and analytics rule is created an incident. In this case, I have here a different incident. One is, for example, an Honey account login attempt is available. And here you can see, when we go to the details, you can see here the entities based on the analytics rule. In my case, the Honey account, this is the UPN, this is the IP address where the request is coming from, and this is the location and where the users try to connect, in my case, the Azure portal. On the left side, you can see here the details, the use case, which is implemented, the description, the version. When we scroll down, you can see here the tactics, also the tags which are available, and some comments which are created automatically. So in my case, I want to verify, or from the SOC perspective, I want to verify, is this IP address malicious or not? What I can do now, I can consume an external services, add the IP address, and get the result. The better, or the professional way is go to the incident, click here to the action, run a playbook. In my case, rapid enrich incident, execute the playbook. So a playbook will be now triggered, will consume information from the Rapid API, give the Rapid API the IP address, and get the information from external services about the reputation from the IP address. You can see here, I have here one comment, and when I click on refresh, I have a new comment from the Rapid API service. The IP address is like harmless, so there's no reason, or the IP address is not listed on a blacklist or whatever. And you can do this with other automation processes as well. So you can post your information to a Teams channel. You can also send an email with a verification link. Okay, is this a planned or not planned change? You can also isolate a VM over Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So the use cases are here really huge, and the options are really extremely huge here. From the automation perspective, so this is a manual automation task. You can also make this task available for all incidents, for all new incidents. To handle this, we have here an automation option, and we can create here an automation rule. And In my case, I have here an automation rule to enrich my incident with additional commands, assign a user, add a tag, and so on and so on. When we go to the automation rule itself, this means, okay, based when an incident is created without any filters, so this means, okay, for all new incidents, it changed the status, the action, the current status from new to active, assign it to an owner, in this case, to my user, add and task, in this case, 2 tasks, demo task 1, demo task 2. This is a new functionality, a new feature for incidents to implement and playbook, and playbook to an incident. Okay, you have to contact your CISO. You also have to execute this analytics rule and so on and so on. And you can define here a playbook for all of your incidents if you want. So this is here also implemented. Then I'm executing an external playbook. You can do this also over this process. And at the end, add and separate tag to the incident. In this case, enrich incident tag. So this will do for all my incidents. And you can see this when I go back to my incidents and select here, in this case, this incident. You can see here, this is assigned to my user, change the status, and scroll down. And here is the additional comment, which is created. And I have here also 2 tasks in place, demo task 1, demo task 2. Here we also have a new experience. It's really cool. It's a new cool experience. And you also have here a new functionality, the activity log. All information or all activities based on the incident will also be logged in the backend, and you have here the ability to see, okay, what happens. In my case, the incident was created, incident status was changed based on the automation rule. The owner was changed, the command was added, the tag was added, the automation rule was executed successful, and here is now the playbook was triggered manually and assigned here the command to the incident. When we think about the visualization, and this is the final step here, we can go here to the investigate. And based on my entities, I have here, I can visualize my attack. You can see here, this is my base alert. These are my entities from the alert, and here we have a connection to another alert based on the UPN or based on the IP address. And here you can go ahead and say, hey, what does the user, what use cases are give me an alert based on the IP address or based on the UPN. So this is a really huge benefit from the SOC perspective and from the threat detection perspective. Okay, that's it in a short time, in a short nutshell from Microsoft Sentinel. I want to recap the functionality. What is Microsoft Sentinel? Microsoft Sentinel is a built-in platform as a service in Microsoft Azure, so you don't have to think about sizing, you don't have to think about increase, decrease, about the disk space. Microsoft will handle this for you. It's based on pay-as-you-go at the beginning, and over the time, when you know, okay, how many data you have you ingest per day, you can define a reservation to get a discount for your data. It's high available, it's high scalable, for sure. Microsoft will handle this for you. It's better to investigate and analyze security issues because we have the ability to connect more systems. We also have the ability to use Microsoft machine learning rules based on Fusion, based on machine learning, based on anomalies rules. And we have really a massive automation options here. So you have seen 2 automation rules, but there are so many more options available. There are so many use cases available. I think we can talk about 2 hours about the automation options, but it's not possible at the time. Okay, that's it. That's from my 15-minute session. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you have a lot of questions. And now we have the Q&A. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Hannes, for presentation. It was very interesting and with the demos and insights. I don't see any additional questions here at studio, but I will just give some questions. So
Mhm.
as you mentioned also in the abstract of your presentation, part of it is actually what the medium and small organizations are having a questions about the cost, right? And
Mhm.
as you mentioned here, the main cost will actually come from the Azure Log Analytics, right? From the data that's get accumulated and used for the analysis, right? For the
Yes.
to see the and plus, but in terms of from your experience, right, working with organizations that are small or medium in size, so what type of cost estimate or what's the way they can control the cost and get some insights into that?
Mhm.
Uh, as you mentioned, like first 30 days are 30 or 31 days are
31 days.
free, right?
Yes.
And then I believe the charge on the Azure Log Analytics kicks in, and it's based on the storage that you accumulate, right?
Yes.
So can you speak just a little bit about that kind of untangle in terms of if somebody wants to get some rough estimate, let's say,
Mhm.
to the senior management about their pilot project that they want to do, and kind of see
Mhm.
the all of these beautiful capabilities of Azure Sentinel, what they should do and where they should look. Can you
Mhm.
talk about that,
So I
please?
will explain it about also the live demo. What you can do is start
Mm-hmm.
with the 31 days, connect your data sources for your use cases, and you also have the ability to see, okay, how many data will ingest in your
Mm-hmm.
environment. You have here different options. The first option what you have is you can go here so this is not for Asia itself, so you can do this for all your resources in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
You can define here your budget if you want. Okay, in
Mm-hmm.
my case, this is not the right subscription. I will define here a cost budget and
Mm-hmm.
also alerting, give you a budget and say, hey, when the budget is increased, send me an email. The other option what you have is inside Microsoft Sentinel, you have the ability to implement a separate workbook. I have this in my environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I always recommend use the workspace usage workbook. This is a community workbook. It's really, really interesting and really for this use case, one of the best workbooks that you can use. You can see here all your tables.
Mm-hmm.
You can also see here, okay, which tables are billable for free. In my case, Asia Activity, which I've mentioned before, is always for free. So we don't get any charges here for this is billable false tables. And here on the top, normally you can see here a gigabyte per day. So in my case, it's not available. The reason is maybe I have implemented the Sentinel environment here yesterday. But over the time, you can see here the gigabyte per day. And then you can go to the Asia Pricing Explorer, pricing Explorer page and say, hey, I have this amount of data per day, this gigabyte amount of
Mm-hmm.
data per day. And you know, okay, how does it cost? What you can also do, but it's not a recommendation from my side, you can implement a daily cap.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go back to the backend, so Microsoft Log Analytics, you can go here to the usage and estimate the costs. And here you have the ability to implement a daily cap, and you can say, hey, I only want to transfer 10 gigabytes per day. But from a security perspective, from a SIEM perspective, it's not
Mm-hmm.
really good when you say, okay, I have 9 gigabytes per day and drop the rest. So it's not
Yeah.
really, but you have the option here. I don't recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. So basically, just to sum it up, what you say that one way is to set the budget alerts on subscription level, correct?
Yeah.
So that you can get those alerts. And but when somebody sets up, probably you mentioned that. Just kind of recap. When somebody sets up the Azure Microsoft Sentinel in their environment with Azure Log Analytics, because it
Mhm.
will boil down to how you want to manage this. Do you want to have one big, log analytics workspace from where you will put all the data and analyze, or you want to have multiple of them and
Yep.
then connect them to the Azure Sentinel? So what's the perspective? What are the pros and cons? Can you just a little bit speak about that
Mhm.
as the last question? Yeah.
So I will recommend only transfer data to Microsoft Sentinel, which you need for your use cases. So it makes no sense to transfer metric data, for example, VM CPU matrix to a SIEM system.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for that is you will pay for the log analytics and you also pay for Sentinel. So you have the double charges here. You have double charges here. So when we think about monitoring, we have our Sentinel environment for our SIEM solution. We have a separate log analytics workspace for our monitoring perspective. For
Mm-hmm.
example, CPU usage, memory usage, and so on. Always transfer the data what you need in your Sentinel environment. This is my recommendation. Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's the key. So basically, just whatever data you want to investigate, or it's the part of your monitoring. So just put that part, right? And then you will basically have better understanding and use the appropriate tool for appropriate reason, and not just dump everything into,
yeah.
you know,
What you also
Azure
can do
Sentinel.
is in KQL, you can consume data not only from one data store, from
Mm-hmm.
one log analytics data store, you can also select additional data stores. So if you need in your investigation CPU matrix, I don't know why you have to do this,
Mm-hmm.
but if you want, you can also consume this from an additional log analytics workspace in one KQL query. The only thing what you have to
Mm-hmm.
do is to give the SOC colleagues the rights to consume the data from the additional log analytics workspace. So
Great. Yeah. And from my understanding, there is no limit in terms of how many log analytics you can connect to your to your Microsoft Sentinel, correct?
yeah. So normally is one log analytics workspace per
Yes.
Sentinel workspace, but you can also create more log analytics workspace and consume the data in one KQL query from more log analytics
Okay.
workspaces. Yes.
All right.
Mhm.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And again, today we had Hannes, Microsoft MVP, who was presenting on Microsoft Sentinel and how you can get started with the modern CM system. And, he basically went through the most important questions when you just start to use this Microsoft Sentinel system in terms of cost, design, and different approaches that you need to take into account when you want to start. And thank you for those demos. I believe those demos are really helpful, especially for starters. And and I believe we are going to have you next time as well for our session, right? So what's going to be our next session? Can you
The
just give a
next
little
session
bit
from
hint here
yeah,
to
the next
raise
session.
interest? Yes.
The next session is about virtual WAN. Also with a huge live demo. So I will have a demo with an huge network environment over different Asia regions, so West Europe, East US, and create a global WAN and also
Hmm.
demonstrate the performance on Asia virtual WAN also from the monitoring perspective. So it's really, really interesting. Yeah, I will
Yeah.
give my
Just
best.
I'll just spice it up that talk and say that if you attended the virtual network manager, right, Microsoft Network Manager session that Hannes had a few weeks ago, this one is must to attend next week, right? So you want to learn what VLAN is, and I
Exactly.
believe if you still have questions about that Microsoft's Central VNet Manager questions, managed one, then you can still bring that and give some hard time to Hannes and ask your questions, so to speak.
Perfect.
All right, it's a deal, right? So deal for
Okay.
everyone. Okay. All right. Enjoy the
Yeah.
rest of your day, guys. Thank you, Hannes, for being
Thank
here.
you.
We are looking forward to have the next session next time. Thank you. Have a good
Okay.
day.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone, for enjoying the session. Goodbye, guys. Thank you.